Okay, now I think it's working. Oh, what a mess. 13 minutes. No sound. And I was doing a whole thing about how when I first started the computer this morning, I was told I had no sound and no microphone and no camera. So I restarted, redid, redone, redoubled, and what a mess. As Gordon says, the command is ! Hey. As in, hey, hey, we're the monkeys. And also as in, hey, you're being dumb. I wonder if there's a word called sloth. But you can't hear me because the microphone's off. Oh, I hear the mouse clicking, or I could hear the mouse clicking briefly. Yes, I was fiddling with things, and I saw the microphone was active when I just chose the microphone, but it wasn't the sound-suppressed microphone of NVIDIA Broadcast. I did a whole 10-minute rant about how I'm never installing beta software because the OBS beta is coming up because it makes your stuff not work. And nothing's working. It's very tricky because my software here says it's working. I can hear myself perfectly. It's working. But when I really pay attention down here, where all my broadcast stuff is, it was not working. It's all very ironic. Do not tempt the gods who live on Mount Olympus with your hubris against beta software and how it doesn't work, because release software doesn't work. It was approved for 13 minutes of the show. This is where it's time for a nap. 20 minutes of fear. Restarting the computer. You have no microphone, you have no camera. Restart everything. Oh yeah, we found your camera. We found your microphone. Oh, really? I think the live stream, the first 13 minutes of the live stream disagrees with you. So we talked about our overnight oats and how delicious that was. And after you have to use rolled oats instead of instant oats or steel cut oats. A little bit of soy milk, a little bit of vanilla extract, chia seeds, I've learned. The secret to overnight oats. If you don't have chia seeds, don't bother, is what I've read. They say they're hard to find, but Whole Foods has them. Ground flax is also very delicious. And then you add a little blueberry, a little raspberry, some powdered peanut butter fit, and you're ready to go. Now, I was earlier commenting, very ironically, about the lack of closed captions. And what happened? And I checked the closed captions, and I checked to see if we were on the OBS beta, and meow. Well, the captions don't work if your microphone is not being heard in your live stream. Lesson learned. And I checked. Oh, captions are there. They're set up. They're working. I don't know why I can't see them, but they're just fine. A total and complete disaster. Welcome to Monday. Oh, wait, it's only Wednesday. I do find that Wednesday is the most difficult show. I don't know if because it is hump day. Mondays are really good because you have the whole weekend with really rich stuff. Tuesday's good because there's really rich stuff you couldn't get to on Monday. Wednesday is just a weird news cycle day because it's really Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, and nothing really happens midweek. And then Thursday, you always find something fun. Friday is the end of the week where you kind of clean up all the fun stuff you couldn't get to all week, and then you're done. But Wednesday, renamed Doomsday, if you're a live streamer. So I was showing off my favorite Trader Joe bag that was gifted to me by the beautiful and talented Jan Marie, because she has one and I was told I couldn't have it. I couldn't touch it. I couldn't use it. So I was gifted one yesterday, as I was showing you before I was so rudely interrupted by myself for not having my microphone on. And the reason I love this bag, and I may have shown this to you before, but the reason I love this bag is because it looks like a paper bag, right? Oh, it's recycled, not plastic, recyclable, right? It's not. It's very thick. It looks like a paper bag when you're old-fashioned and bony, like me, but it's really a recyclable, reusable bag. And I love it so much because it looks like a paper bag, but it's not. I like things that look what they are, but they're not. It's there, but it's not there. And this is the official tag. It's a washable paper bag, grocery bag. Can we read this? Not really. We don't have automatic focusing on it. But I guess that I can't even read it. It's too small anyway. But I guess the general idea is that, hey, you have a bag, you put groceries in it, and groceries get messy. You know, you buy fruit, blueberries, raspberries, and it's going to leak. If they are relatively fresh, there are going to be one or two in there that are overly fresh, and it's going to leak. So that's the problem with these reusable bags, especially if they're like plastic. If they're cloth, you just rewash them. But the plastic ones, you have to go in there and kind of wipe out. And people don't tend to wipe them out. And I know because I watch people online and I look inside their bag as they're loading it and it's filthy. Brr. But this is washable. A washable paper bag that's not paper at all. It only looks like it on TV. Thank you. So let's see what else is going on. Now, you tell me why. We restart everything. Nothing seemed to be updated. Although I have a feeling maybe the Elgato software automatically updates itself. And when it does that, then it messes everything up that's related to it, somehow. And you don't find out until you're actually live streaming that what you thought is working is not working. But I do remember, now that I'm thinking about it, when I first turned on the computer this morning, the Elgato, which is like my control panel for everything that's audio, but not the end of the day. The end of the day is NVIDIA Broadcast, which is terrific software. And I noticed, which is unique for me, that all of my audio inputs, now this is getting interesting as I'm remembering this, at 5 in the morning, that all of my audio inputs went yellow with an exclamation point. And I remember waking up, looking at them, and thinking, well, that's weird. And then it went away. I thought, oh, okay. Well, I guess that happens every morning for the last 6 months. I've just never noticed it before. It's so funny how you try to talk yourself out of things. Oh, I'm sure that's normal. Seeing red and yellow exclamation points on your audio software. No problems there. And then I did. I tested it. I played with the microphone, turned on and off. Music, on and off, fine. And then I restarted the computer. And NVIDIA Podcast says you have no microphone. So that should have been my clue. That something had changed. I believe now that Elgato must have updated the software. That's the only thing I can think. So as it was updating itself, it turned everything off and then turned everything back on because it's rebooting, restarting, whatever. And then I restarted and everything appeared to be fine and everything was perfectly fine. Even the music was fine. I can see it playing. But not the microphone. It's painful. You do all this prep and you spend the first half hour of your show talking about things that you could have controlled, but you didn't. And now we're taking a break. Our very first blood pressure break of the day. We'll see when we come back if we have everything still together. We're not taking bets because the house will lose. Back in a moment. And hey, we are back from break. Whew, what a day! This is BOLES.TV. It's Bowls.television. And our closed captionings are working, our mic is still working. Oh. We do this Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern. Sometimes we have sound, sometimes we don't. Sometimes there's music, sometimes there's no music, sometimes there's my voice, sometimes it's just me mouthing things, and you can't hear a word. It's the way it is. So, we were in need of a dad joke. And this is the dad joke. Today, a girl said she recognized me from Vegetarian Club. But I'm sure I've never met Herbivore. I like that one. It's not quite written right, but it's good. I like the joke. That's very daddish. Very daddy tasting. So we have 2 emergency commands. Maybe I should make one that says emergency, make it an alias. One is hey, hey, old bean, wake up. The other one is yo. Yo. There's a strange sound. I don't know where it's coming from, and now I'm completely paranoid. We have too much sound and not enough sound. So we also have a yo command, which is exclamation point yo. So if anything weird is going on, if you use either of those commands, it shows up as bright red notes for me. And then I will look at it and see, oh, something's wrong. And then, as Gordon before, you can say, I can't hear you. I wonder if I had put this stream output, would that have been better or worse? Oh, it's not even let me. This is better. This is a stream output. And if I turn off my microphone, which I'm turning off my microphone right. If I use stream output and my microphone's not working, but my microphone was working here, I don't think it would make a difference. Never mind. It's fresh beta testing. Coming to you live and in person. Not from the Omaha Civic Auditorium, which was the joke we used to open the show, but we couldn't hear it. We couldn't even caption it because there was no captions going on. So enough of that. Hey, did you hear about the NFT scheme? I didn't really know anything about this, but our friend Igba sent it to me yesterday afternoon. And this is what he sent me. Excuse me. In addition to not hearing myself, I'm being hotboxed by my neighbor. Every morning, 9 a.m. So Igba sent me this. I believe this is a Russian account that is being quoted in the screenshot. I think that's what it's called. Oh, that is a live link. Okay, so maybe we'll look at this. So he says, if you are trying to create hype and placing fake bids on works of artists who transferred money to you for this, it's up to you. Okay. But pretending being collector and making other artists waste the time shilling their works to you, at least, is not fair. Okay, so this is a translation. So this is, I believe, a Russian account, a friend of Igba's. This is his English translation, trying to warn us against what I guess this guy is doing. Atlas Atlantis, and we'll visit that in a minute. And this, I guess, is the account, and this has been added by, I guess, the person who posted the tweet, this person, Anya. We create an activity monster with you, and it all goes back to our community getting stronger every day worldwide. Okay. I guess that's the translation of this. So now I have to click on this because I'm still slightly lost. Although Igba explained to me what he's going on. One of one NFT collector and digital art lover. Not an art liker, but an art lover. I'd cry if I weren't so upset about the missing audio from this one. Buying JPEGs from my favorite new artists on FND. Okay. Amazing. Atlantis just bid on one of my NFTs from Black and White Collection. Very glad my collection attracts the attention of such worthy collectors. I am honored. Place to bid. Notice, right? Didn't buy it. Just place to bid. So, what I think is happening... Oh, here we go. Oh, these are all the Russian with the boobies and the backsides, I think. Be careful, booby alert. I'm warning you, boobies, maybe. Usually they're drawn and animated as cartoons, but sometimes there is a real booby once in a while. And when I say booby, I'm not talking about myself. So what I believe he's saying is there are people who go on Twitter, and we've talked about this before, who say, hey, I have 10 ETH to spend. $17,000, right? I'm looking to buy within the next hour. Drop your art here, and I'll pick something that I like. And then people drop their art, and allegedly, then this person then picks the NFT and buys it. But I've never seen anybody ever celebrate getting purchased in that way. I think a lot of people post, and no purchase is made, and the person saying, I'm spending 10 ETH, gets followers, gets attention, and never has to put up any money. Now, this is what Igba said about this thing that he sent me. Igba said, I think you'll find this interesting. It's a new scammer scheme. This man took artists' money and bet on it. He expected to be outbid by real collectors. I think he's talking about the auction. So he could then keep the money for himself. That's the first I've heard of it. I'm still not exactly sure what's going on. But I guess it's some kind of phony bid. Where this guy takes money from artists and then bids on other art to try to build up a portfolio, and then it turns around and it's not actually happening. And he either loses the bid or wins the bid. I guess he would win the bid, and then the money is spent, and then there's no money left, I guess. But you got to be careful with these people. A lot of these creators are really super desperate. All day they are complaining, begging, please go like my artwork. And I don't know how effective that is. As I told Igba, I think collectors who are serious, have a certain taste, a certain style that they're looking to support in the artwork that they purchase. And some artwork you purchase supports a cause, other supports a talent, supports an image. So I don't think a serious collector goes on and says, hey, I'm spending $17,000. Post all your booby art. And then buys it. I don't think that happens. I think collectors are very specific and very serious. And while they might like something, that doesn't mean that they're going to put it in their collection. So the warning has been made and the warning has been sounded. And now just to give ourselves a little bit of a reality check, this is the Facebook page that Alexander runs. And we've shared the link here before. And I've not heard from Alexander for a couple of days. I'm slightly worried about him. Commissioner Gordon says, I emailed you accidental artwork. Might NFT it later. We'll have to ask Chaim first. Well now, that sounds Very enticing. Let me see if I can find it. Gordon says, Hyam painted a figure last night, and this is the cardboard upon which he mixed the paint. To me, it looks like a person with their hair tied back. Perhaps a wig? What do you see? Let's see if we can bring this forward for a complete and total examination. But before we do that, let's just finish this quick story about Alexander's friends. So I haven't heard from Alexander. I hope he's all right. He's probably training and getting ready to leave his family, which is heartbreaking. And this is the news that he's reporting on his Facebook page. These two guys, heavily armed, grenades, young guy, tough guy, experienced. And here's the translation into English. It is with great sadness that I report that the best sons of our community continue to die in the fields of heavy battles. On August 20, we received sad news in the performance of their military duty. The military of the Armed Forces of Ukraine died during combat. Junior Sergeant Muko Oleg Petrovich and Private Bevza Andrei Alexandrovich. On August 24 at 10 o'clock in the central square of the city, will begin the ceremony of farewell with the Junior Sergeant of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Fly Oleg Petrovich. So that's the reality of the war. That is the tooth of the tiger that Alexander is about to throw himself into. I am concerned for him. But he's got to do what he feels like he has to do. Here's the artwork from old Gordon. What could it be? It does look like a wig. It does look like a mask. It sort of looks like Alexander's. The $158,000 soul selling NFT. With that dark sort of helmet and the no nose and the frightening look. So I say, hey, make everything an NFT. Sell it. Pay for the young man's education. Pay for a new house. Pay to get rid of Ron DeSantis from Florida. Charlie Crist, ugh. Florida's lost. Hey, Gordon says, on the left side, I see two eyes, one nose, and even a gap for the mouth. It's very interesting. We'll pull out a little bit. Very interesting stuff. Is it on-purpose art or accidental art? Maybe there's no difference. Now, talking about terrible people, Putin, not Hyam's art. The Oz campaign on Fetterman. If he had ever eaten a vegetable in his life, he wouldn't have had a stroke. Okay, this is coming from an alleged doctor, making fun of a guy who had a stroke, who is his competition in the Pennsylvania Senate race. Desperation? I don't know. Just general nastiness that appears to be the hallmark of GOP candidates. They're mean, they're cruel, and they don't care. Dr. Oz, the Republican Senate candidate, went viral after complaining about the price of crudité. Now his team is doubling down in a statement. Here's the latest in a race fueled by memes and Twitter sparring. Isn't that what we want in Washington? Last Monday, John Fetterman, Oz's Democrat opponent, resurfaced a video of Oz recorded what he called a Wegmans, a mishmash of Redners and Wegmans grocery store chains. They're shopping for a crudité and complaining about inflation. In Fetterman's comment, in Pennsylvania, we call this a veggie tray. And then the nasty slapback. Dr. Oz's campaign jabbed back, quoting, if John Fetterman had ever eaten a vegetable in his life, then maybe he wouldn't have had a major stroke and wouldn't be in the position of having to lie about it constantly. Ugh. Nasty, nasty, mean, awful people. Gordon says, oh, I missed this. Chris would be better than DeSantis, since a mossy rock with a necktie would be better than DeSantis. I 100% agree. DeSantis has to go. Although people are saying that the new thing that he did, the military thing where he thinks he's Tom Cruise, that ad, is like the Michael Dukakis, wearing the silly helmet, riding around on a tank. And yes, DeSantis was in the Navy, but he was JAG. He was a lawyer. He wasn't in combat. Which is fine, but he's suggesting that he's a combat pilot in his commercial, whatever it was. And Gordon also says, sadly, I know he, Dr. Oz, is a legitimate doctor. We'll get to that in a moment. As he had an adjunct appointment at the Weill Cornell Medical College. And I have seen his CV, and amazingly, he has the education, and yet somehow manages to be such a dummy. You're not alone in that assessment, Gordon. After Dr. Oz's crudité misstep, plus another dust-up with Fetterman over how many homes he owns, hey, lie about things you can actually check into. See how that turns out for you. Dr. Oz says he has 2 homes. He actually has 10. Trump, reportedly told 2 of his confidants that Dr. Oz will effing lose. He didn't say effing. Unless something changes in the race. And this is, I think, my favorite follow-up from this morning. Headline: Real doctors against Oz call out the GOP candidate after he said Democrat rival Fetterman wouldn't have had a stroke if he had ever eaten a vegetable in his life. Now, this may go against what Mr. Gordon just said, but we'll see. Dr. Mehmet Oz said John Fetterman's stroke was a result of never having eaten a vegetable. Real doctors against Oz accused the GOP candidate of endangering people's health on his television show. The 2 are facing off to replace retiring Senator Pat Toomey. Over 100 Pennsylvania doctors put out a statement on Tuesday condemning Senate candidate Dr. Mehmet Oz after his campaign said that his Democrat opponent, John Fetterman, would never have had a stroke if he had eaten a vegetable in his life. He has made clear, doctors against Oz say, that Dr. Oz will put enriching himself above all else, even in instances where people's health is endangered. The statement highlighted multiple examples of questionable medical practices by Oz, including a health news review analysis that found 78% of the statements he made on The Dr. Oz Show did not align with evidence-based medical guidelines. Now, Gordon's going to have to go back and find the syllabus and find out if 78% of the things that Dr. Oz taught to his students were in fact true or not. Fetterman responded to all this on the Twitter, saying he couldn't imagine ridiculing someone for their health challenges. It's easy to take the high road when Dr. Oz gets down on his hands and knees and paves it for you. Nice try. Rachel Tripp, Oz's senior communications advisor, told Insider in a response, Dr. Oz has been urging people to eat more veggies for years. That's not ridicule. It's good health advice. We're only trying to help him. Oh, it's so painful. While Fetterman stayed away from public events in order to recover, Oz's campaign set up an attack website that referred to the candidate as a basement bum. Oh, isn't that lovely? There's just such lovely, wonderful people who love people and who want everyone to get better. Where is the website? The basement bum website. Basement bum? Oh, it keeps going round and around, Insiders. Dr. Oz basement bum. Let me see what that does. Basement Bum, Oz campaign trolls Fetterman for campaign trail absence. Oh, Jim Bernie. There's Fetterman. Is that Trump? Weird. Daddy's boy? Very strange. Oh, here I guess this. Okay, fraudster Fetterman. Here we go. Basement Bum. We unfortunately found it. Click below to see John Fetterman's campaign schedule. Not paid for by John Fetterman's daddy. Paid for by Dr. Oz for Senate. Well, isn't that lovely? I hope they add that to his CV, Gordon. Dr. Oz. Paid for the Basement Bum website. View upcoming events. Oh, it's been replaced. John Fetterman hasn't held a public event since May 12th. I don't think that's true anymore. But maybe it doesn't matter. Oh, see? Aren't they funny? You can't ever click on it because they claim there are no public events. Well, we've seen John Fetterman. He's fine. He's thin. He's healthy. And he's going to win, which is probably the best revenge of all. And now we're taking our next blood pressure break, returning in a moment. And we're back for break. I'm David Bowles, and this is Bowles.tv, BOLES.television. Our closed captions are working. I can hear myself. We are still on the air. Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern. Well, hey, over the break, Gordon Davidescu has stepped up to campaign for Dr. Oz in a hardcore way. There is no doubt who Gordon is going to be voting for, probably illegally from Florida, in the Pennsylvania race for the Senate seat. Gordon says Dr. Oz is board certified in both surgery and thoracic surgery. And the tests you need to take to get those board certifications are lengthy and extremely difficult. So he's got the intelligence. But so what happened that led him to preaching such garbage? Gordon suspects money. Gordon continues. The man's bachelor degree from Harvard was cum laude. They don't hand out that title like venti water at Starbucks, you know? It's just so weird. And then Gordon says, yuck, no. And then Gordon says, hey, it's just proof positive that you can be technically brilliant and still somehow be an utter maroon. And yes, that is the joke, maroon. What a maroon. And I guess that is the point. You can be book smart and really stupid as a human being. But here is the analysis that I did not share, but it is part of this original article I was reading. Why is Dr. Oz doing this to himself? While these blunders from Dr. Oz may be evidence of his political novice, people who have long known the 62-year-old told Insider he's always thought of himself as destined for greatness. Over the course of his career, he has engineered a series of parlays. Now that's a John Wick term. From running a groundbreaking medical center to gaining press attention, from press to best-selling book and appearances on the Oprah Winfrey Show. And from Oprah to his own media empire, several businesses and board positions, and a place in virtually every American heart and mind. He continues, I think part of the reason he came on TV was to ramp up his profile so at some point he could go into politics. Said one person involved in the inception of the Dr. Oz show. He's definitely the kind of person who will do what he has to do to get what he wants. And that makes the most sense of everything. Smart guy, well-educated, Harvard, Cornell, all that's true. A lot of money, success, all true. What kind of person is he? Not very nice. Thinks he can just get away with it. Oh, I'm Dr. Oz, so I'm going to win. And he tricked Donald Trump, because that's how Trump wins. Bluster, some money, some fame. People like to vote for famous people. Well, maybe not in the case of Dr. Oz. But he doesn't seem to be terribly bothered by it. Maybe he just likes the attention. He doesn't seem to care if he really wins or doesn't win. He doesn't really even seem frustrated by the process. So maybe there is something else going on inside of him. Gordon also says, I would vote for a tooth and a glass of Coca-Cola before voting for him. Yeah. And the question I have with these 100 doctors who came out against him is would he be good at caring for people? Now, we know he's smart, he can teach. But is he a good one-on-one doctor? I don't know. If I had my choice, I would not pick him to be my doctor. Now, if you are not reading the Empty Wheel blog, Marcy Wheeler, or following her on Twitter, excuse me, Unboxing Live, every day, 9 a.m. Eastern. You need to read Marcy Wheeler, because she is one of the few people who understands exactly what's going on with the law, and especially with this Donald Trump character. And what she has pointed out in this article from, I think, yesterday, is this ongoing duty of irresponsibility that CNN, MSNBC, the Washington Post, the New York Times, all of them put together are not reporting what is really going on with this Trump document stealing scheme. They will not use this word obstruction. And that is the basis of why the FBI and the DOJ are going after him. And she wonders in this fantastic article why they won't use that word. And I know the reason they won't use the word is because MSNBC and CNN and the Washington Post and the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times love Donald Trump. They do. Because he's good for business. They may loathe him as a president and as a human being, but they love the trouble he causes. They love that he helps them sell newspapers. So, their coverage is selective and seeing both sides. Oh, Trump said this. Not with a straight face, but he said it. They reported as if it was said with a straight face. And then, DOJ, big mistakes made over here. Because they want Trump to be president. Absolutely 100%. I guarantee it. Watch. So you need to have places where you can go, like Empty Wheel, where you're going to get, if you're interested, the reality and the truth of what's really happening. And here's just an example. And Marcy now lives in Ireland, so it's great because when she's up, I'm up. And she tweets a lot. The New York Times published a 1,700-word story on the investigation into Donald Trump that did not include the word obstruction once. The Washington Post published a 1,200-word story on the investigation that likewise failed to mention that obstruction was one of the crimes for which the DOJ believed they'd find evidence at Mar-a-Lago. The Washington Post story treated the ridiculous filing from attorneys, including Evan Corcoran, submitted yesterday as if it were a serious legal endeavor. And she goes on to explain why it's all a farce. So when this original lawyer, Christina Bobb, and people who I guess know her as an attorney, said that they would not, when she was working with them, they did not trust Christina Bobb to make photocopies of legal documents because she would always mess it up. So she would just kind of sit there and not do anything because no one could trust her to do anything to get it done. And now she's Trump's attorney. So when Christina Bobb arrived during the search on August 8 and requested the ability to enter the mansion in order to observe what the FBI agents were doing, the FBI would have viewed her, if that had really happened, as a potential co-conspirator in obstruction of an Espionage Act investigation. And when Corcoran, the other attorney, signed a filing document demanding that the court, a different court than the one that approved the warrant, appoint a special master who will work with lawyers from both sides to review the documents, and also demanding that he and Trump's other lawyers get a detailed list of what was seized, the FBI would view him as a potential co-conspirator in obstruction of an Espionage Act investigation. So these lawyers are trying to rewrite what happened. It's too late for a special master. That boat has sailed. They've had the documents. The FBI's had the documents for 2 weeks. They've gone over everything. They fingerprinted all the papers, seeing who touched it, tracking down the provenance. They are looking to see if the documents have staple holes, if anything's been removed, restapled, rearranged. They're being forensic about it. One reason the FBI asked for more surveillance footage, which the New York Times story that doesn't mention obstruction says is part of the hunt for more classified documents, is because they need to understand who caused that false filing to be filed in June. And they need to know what happened in the storage area between Bratt's visit and the actual FBI search. So that is what Empty Wheel is saying about the lack of coverage. And here's something that she retweeted today. Do you remember Jared Smith, the Florida judge in Hillsborough County, Tampa, who tried to block a teenager from accessing abortion because her grades were too low? We talked about that here on this stream. Well, he was voted out tonight and trails 52 to 48% with all precincts reporting. So that's some good news, right? Here again is Marcy saying the 2,500-word WAPO story, Washington Post story, note the lead byline, continues their habit of not mentioning the crime. This is from this morning. The crime of obstruction. It also, interestingly enough, does not mention the Espionage Act. FBI's Mar-a-Lago search followed months of resistance and delay by Trump. And she goes on to say, resistance and delay, and she's laughing at that. It also includes this hilarious sentence that she quotes. All of this would be easier, she says, if you admitted there was an obstruction investigation, which no one tired of during Mueller. It's on the warrant. A person familiar with the matter said the document is of interest to the FBI, which is investigating the veracity of its claims. Gordon says from the paper that Trump was 100% against him. Absolutely right. And that's what he does. He plays the press against himself, and he knows what they're doing, and the press knows what they're doing, and they're doing it because they're cute. And because it sells newspapers and helps him become president again. They want nothing more than a second Trump presidency. They don't want another Biden. Biden doesn't bring people to the channel. Biden doesn't sell newspapers. Trump does. That's why they want to eat him up before he's done. DeSantis is no Donald Trump. DeSantis is going to go over like a poop in a punch bowl. Because Trump, like it or not, is charming. He has great charisma. When he wants to charm you, he will charm you to death. And it's very, very appealing and attractive. Ron DeSantis has the personality of a stump, a rock, a boulder. He has no charm. He has no wit. He's just mean. So all of these political people who make money from TV shows and who make money from publishing newspapers are saying, oh no, what are we going to do? We can't have Biden again. He's boring. He's old. Trump, oh. DeSantis, no. Who else in the GOP has the kind of charm and personality and charisma of a Donald Trump? Nobody. And that's why there's going to be a big push. They're not going to be public about it, but there's going to be a big push to get him back. And it's terrifying if you care about your country. Marcia also continues. It also continues to parrot the Trump filing the rest of us are assuredly laughing at. Incidentally, the filing actually said custodian of records, which it claims is Christina Bobb, was named on a subpoena. A day after the letter to Corcoran, Trump's lawyer accepted a grand jury subpoena seeking any records with classified markings from Mar-a-Lago. You don't accept a subpoena is served upon you. 15 minutes ago. Every 2 minutes she's posting something. In Trump's Whack-A filing the other day, he described that Trump.org, not Donald J. Trump, received the subpoena for Mar-a-Lago surveillance footage because Trump Organization owns it. That means Trump Organization could have intervened in the search as well. In better times, that is, the 2018 search of Michael Cohen's phone, Trump Organization did intervene on Trump's behalf and did so in a timely fashion, 4 days. But Trump's org is rather distracted, staving off the Bragg and James investigations right now. And she goes after the Washington Post again, which I love. Washington Post reported that when boxes that Trump had personally overseen the packing were retrieved by NARA in February, there were things that were not presidential records inside. This is one of the reasons why the warrant was written the way it was. Instead, when Archives employees began opening up and sifting through the material, they noticed an immediate problem. The boxes arrived without any kind of logs or inventories to describe their content, according to a person familiar with the recovery. Instead, they contained a hodgepodge of documents, including some that didn't even come from Trump's time in the White House, right? So they're reporting that like that's a bad thing, when actually it's a good thing because it shows how insecurely classified documents are being stored. But the way you read in the Washington Post is, oh no, it wasn't inventoried correctly. Shocking. Now, I also found this, which I think is very interesting, which I'm going to briefly share with you now. This is from the Cornell Law Center. They have a wonderful website where you can look up any sort of law, any sort of legal thing, do a search on it, and it will give you the information. So this is what should have been happening at Mar-a-Lago. The proper storage and custody of classified information. These are the rules that you have to follow. And I love reading it because I like learning new things. First, unless specifically authorized by the chairman or executive director, all classified information and materials within the Washington office will be stored only in GSA-approved security containers in the Office of Administrative Operations. Such containers will be of steel construction with built-in 3-position dial-type, manipulation-proof, changeable combination locks. I love the specificity of it. And did Mar-a-Lago have any of that? A padlock on a wooden door. Also, a custodian and one or more alternate custodians will be assigned responsibility for the security of each container under his jurisdiction in which classified information is stored. Did that happen at Mar-a-Lago? No. GSA Optional Form 63 is a 3-sheet form, each sheet having a specific purpose and disposition, and must be as follows. Sheet 1 records the names, addresses, and home telephone numbers of the custodian and the alternate custodians. Sheet 1 is affixed to the outside of the container. So this is what the FBI is doing. They have this, they know all of this. They're looking at what's in the boxes. Are all these things there? Are they missing? Have things been cut out, torn out, manipulated, flushed down the toilet? Sheet 2 records the combination of the container and is placed inside Sheet 3, which is an envelope. Sheet 3, an envelope, is a carbon copy of Sheet 1. When the container combination is recorded on Sheet 2, it is sealed inside Sheet 3, which is then forwarded to the top secret control officer. This is very specific stuff. It's either there, done that way, or it's not. Were any envelopes opened? Were any combinations revealed? Safe or cabinet security record will be attached conspicuously to the outside of each container used to store classified information. More. Combinations of containers used to store classified material will be changed once a year. A combination will be changed also when anyone knowing or having access to it is transferred. When the combination has been subjected to compromise, when the security classification of the container is upgraded, and any other time as may be deemed necessary. Combinations to locks and security containers will be changed only by individuals having a security clearance equal to the highest category of classified material stored therein. That and the Mar-a-Lago basement, they don't seem to go together. Continuing, the individual who unlocks a container will indicate the date and the time and initial entry on the GSA Optional Form 62. At the close of each workday, or when the container is locked at an earlier time, the individual locking the container will make the appropriate entry on Optional Form 62. The red and white reversible closed open cardboard sign will be used on all classified containers to indicate whether the container is opened or locked. You know the FBI is checking cardboard. I love this part as an old IBM Selectric user. Thinking of spy novels as I'm typing them. Typewriter ribbons used in the preparation of classified information will be safeguarded in the manner appropriate for the degree of classification involved. Cloth typewriter ribbons are considered insecure until both upper and lower lines have been cycled through the typewriter at least twice. Carbon paper or film ribbons, IBM Selectric, are insecure at all times, since the imprint thereon cannot be obliterated, and such ribbon must be destroyed as classified waste. Insecure ribbons will not be left in typewriters overnight, but will be stored in appropriate classified container. So, and that's from law.cornell.edu. So you can see right there, hello, Trump's in trouble. Obstructing justice, Espionage Act, the storage and custody of classified information didn't happen, and it's going to be hard to prove that it did happen when everyone knows it did not happen. It was stored in his basement. And now it's time for our final blood pressure break of the day, returning in a moment. And hey, we are back from break. Woo-hoo. This is Bowles.tv. BOLES.television. I'm David Bowles. Oh boy, I tell you right now, I just love all the classified material stuff. It's just like reading a spy novel. This, and this. And all those procedures, all those temperamental things are going to be very deeply investigated by the FBI. I'm sure it's already done. They know exactly if things have been changed, moved around, taken from one classified document, put it with another classified document, made copies. They know if those are copies or if those are originals. They know. And that's why Trump is so full of bluster. And that's why Trump can't find a competent attorney to represent him. He has Christina Bobb, who law firms are not allowed to make photocopies, and he has this Kokorin guy he was introduced to over the phone by a friend, never even had a meeting with him to vet him or to discuss what you want to do. He just said, "You're hired," and the guy got hired, and the guy can't seem to file a competent motion. But we'll see what happens. They told a dad joke coming back from break. What do you do when you see a spaceman? Park your car, man. That one's not so good. That one I would say is a 3 out of 10. Not very funny. I don't think kids today know what a spacey guy is. Maybe I'm wrong. So there's one other story, but before we get to that story, here is the actual complete website of the Legal Information Institute at Cornell. This is what I was reading to you from the classified information. Delightful. Loving every minute of it. Now, hey, here we go with this one. Finishing the day, or the dessert of the day, is Joe Manchin making a s'more out of Christian cinema. Gordon says, sure they do. They still love Buzz Lightyear. Good. Does Buzz Lightyear do the joke about a spacey guy? I don't know. I don't really watch those movies. But it seems like that's a hard dad joke for a kid to get. But I guess dad jokes are not really for kids. They're for other dads. So Joe Manchin has served up Kristen Cinema Toast Crunch for the eating and the devouring at the public trough of despair and disgust. When Joe Manchin was the obstructionist all along, and Kristen was just kind of there along for the ride, and then he flipped it on her and made it all her fault. It's just completely fantastic. Hey, Joe Manchin pulled a last-minute face turn, and the party tamped down its infighting to bask, at least temporarily, in a victory. It was a happy ending for everybody. Gordon says, well, Buzz Lightyear is a space man. I get the joke. I don't know if your kids get the joke. Except perhaps for Christian cinema. The Arizona senator has come out of Biden's first 2 years as deeply exposed and vulnerable to a primary challenge when she runs for re-election in 2024. Yes, please get rid of her. In the end, though, cinema was exposed as the most important, or at least hardest to justify, limiting factor on the shared ambitions of Joe Manchin and cinema. Manchin's breakthrough offer to Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer was composed of policies the entire caucus had agreed on, with one exception. He proposed to narrow the tax break for carried interest, a special advantage cinema had vowed to protect. This forced cinema to demand the removal of that provision as her price for striking a deal. Cinema had tried to keep her support for the notorious provision quiet. The New York Times found earlier this month she had never uttered the phrase carried interest. in a public legislative session. Manchin's offer made her position public. It's possible, hey. Gordon says Malka thought it was funny. She just repeated it to Chaim and laughed loudly. So they understand the joke like the Cheech and Chong joke. Hey man, it's a space, man. Yeah, space, man. Space. It's over there, man. If so, you have highly educated children who have seen movies that I haven't seen in 20 years. It's possible Manchin included that provision just so he could give Sinema something to negotiate away. Make her do it, not him. But the effect was to focus on her support for a deeply unpopular tax giveaway. How unpopular, you ask? Well, pro-Wall Street Democrats like Jamie Dimon and Steve Radner and even right-winger Donald Trump have publicly criticized it. Manchin likewise exposed Sinema's alliance with the prescription drug lobby. With friends like these. We had a senator from Arizona who basically didn't let us go as far as we needed to go with our negotiations and made us wait 2 years, Manchin said. Manchin quickly retracted his remark, but it remains correct. Well, once you say it, you know it said it. You can take back anything. Once you say it, you can't take back anything. After the Associated Press reported that Sinema collected $1 million in donations from private equity, Republican tax lobbyist Dan Mahoney leapt to her defense. Mahoney's op-ed proceeds to argue that Sinema was not only not bought off, but she was wise and correct to preserve the carried interest loophole. It's just so ridiculous. I find it delicious. I love that Senator Manchin has served up Senator Sinema for this sort of ridicule and bemoanment. It's all in the space, man. So, hey, what a show. Talked about beta stuff, talked about Donald Trump, classified materials, told a few dad jokes. Had some fun. So I hope you have a wonderful day, a nice nap. I'm completely awake now. I've recovered from my earlier depression. We now have full system audio. We'll see what happens tomorrow. If you have any questions, comments, you can email me, david@bowles.tv. If you're Commissioner Gordon, you can sign off from Winter Garden, Florida and say, hey, thanks for having us. And I can say, yo. And I can say, hey. And of course I can say, I'll see you in a day or two. And maybe have more ideas for you and maybe some audio as well. We don't know. Don't risk that. You never know. On Twitter, @DavidBowles, super follows to follow. On Instagram, Bowles Books. Facebook, regular old Bowles. TikTok, Bowles TV. And of course, our Discord server. New stuff every day. Lots of links, recipes, fun things, cats, flowers. Tremendous fun. Boom. Visit us there. So until tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern, this is Bowles.tv, Bowles TV, David Bowles signing off, saying, have a wonderful day and a great nap. And when you shall awaken, may your soul be filled with joy and properly classified materials. I'll see you tomorrow.